Citizens speak out. The demand for true reforms that provide improved lives of greater dignity, respect, and opportunity for all fellow countrypersons continues as people gather in nations that include Bahrain, Egypt, Georgia, Israel, Jordan, Libya, Pakistan, Palestine, Serbia, Sudan, Syria, Ukraine, United Kingdom, and Yemen.
United Kingdom. On Sunday, July 17, Scotland Yard Chief Sir Paul Stephenson, Britain's most senior police official, resigned, followed on Monday by Deputy Commissioner John Yates, both stepping down over widespread criticism of how they handled the investigation into the now shut-down News of the World phone hacking scandal. Following their resignations, Prime Minister David Cameron announced he would shorten a trip to South Africa to return to the UK for an emergency meeting of Parliament on the matter. Meanwhile, with detectives saying they have identified 3,700 potential phone hacking victims, the Independent Police Complaints Commission has been appointed to specifically probe the resigned officials, as well as investigate police corruption associated with the phone hacking in the wake of allegations that police were paid to provide information to News of the World journalists.
Serbia. Citing lack of evidence, a Hungarian court on Monday found Nazi war crime suspect Sandor Capero, now 97 years of age, innocent of charges that he was involved in the 1942 killing of several thousand Jewish, Roma, and Serbian people who perished in what became known as the Novi Sad massacre.
Ukraine and Georgia. On Monday, 3 members of the Ukrainian activist group Femin were attacked by a security guard as they gathered on the steps of the Georgian embassy in Kiev to protest the arrest of 3 photographers in the Georgian capital Tbilisi. The Georgian embassy later apologized and said it had dismissed the guard. Meanwhile, in Georgia, a group of independent newspapers also made a statement about the arrests as they went to press without pictures, printing the word protest in block letters in place of the photographs.
Israel and Palestine. Around 2,000 people, including Israelis and Palestinians, marched together on Friday, July 15th, through the Arab neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah, calling for the United Nations to recognize Palestine as an independent state based on 1967 borders.
On Monday, various Palestine-based press reported that 3 Palestinians near their home on Monday were attacked by Israeli settlers with batons and knives, severely injuring 2. Meanwhile, a report released by Israeli human rights group B'Tselem found that 835 Palestinian youths have been arrested by Israeli forces for stone throwing between 2005 and 2010, saying that the Israeli military law applied to these Palestinian minors does not offer the same protection as Israeli and international law. The group also stated that of the 835 arrested, 93% have received jail time, with 19 of those incarcerated being 12 and 13-year-olds.
Egypt. Following a meeting with the Supreme Council of Armed Forces on Saturday, dozens of protesters in Cairo's Tahrir Square renewed a hunger strike begun on July 10th, saying that the recent change in cabinet members is not the same as meaningful policy change, which they point out still has not occurred. Pakistan and the United States. Pakistan and UK-based human rights attorneys have launched legal proceedings against former U.S. Central Intelligence Agency legal counsel John Rizzo on behalf of the Pakistani relatives of citizens killed by unmanned U.S. drone airstrikes, which have been conducted in Pakistan since 2004. During his time in office, Mr. Rizzo gave legal approval for the strikes. However, lawyers for the victims' families state the use of such weapons outside a declared combat zone is in fact illegal.
Sudan, a confidential United Nations report obtained by the UK-based Guardian and published on Saturday, states that in the conflict-stricken disputed border region between Sudan and newly formed South Sudan, the Sudanese government has been engaging in daily aerial bombings of civilian areas and summary executions, with specific targeting of the dark-skinned people that has resulted in the disappearance or killing of at least 3,000 since the beginning of June. The report also states that the attacks have completely blocked the ability of the UN to fulfill its basic peacekeeping mission.
Bahrain. The al-Wefaq party announced on Sunday that it was pulling out of the National Reconciliation Dialogue, saying that the government is not serious about addressing the demands of the people. The group's representative went on to say that its proposals were being ignored and stated, "We have tried, but without success, to make it a serious dialogue."
U.S.-based Human Rights Watch has called on Bahraini authorities to halt the prosecution of 48 medical doctors and nurses currently on trial in a closed-door military tribunal. They're also urging for a stop to the harassment of medical personnel, as well as the removal of security forces from healthcare centers and fair trials for those accused of serious crimes.
Jordan. Dozens of Jordanian citizens rallied against security forces' brutal treatment last Friday of journalists, who suffered bruises and fractures after being beaten while reporting on a protest event. Speaking out against the attack, the parliament's lower house called for a probe into the journalists' mistreatment.
Syria. According to the activist group Local Coordination Committees in Syria, security forces surrounded the town of al-Bukamal on Sunday with tanks, the day after dozens of soldiers defected and joined pro-democracy demonstrators when security forces and non-uniformed armed men reportedly killed one protester and injured 5 others. One resident of the town who spoke from Damascus said that it would be a mistake for the army to enter the city, as the people want democratic, peaceful change, not a civil war. Syrian troops also on Sunday detained dozens of residents as they arrived in the town of Zabadani near the Lebanese border.
In addition, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported Monday that 30 citizens were killed within 24 hours in the city of Homs in the first reported clashes among religious sects since protests began 4 months ago. Meanwhile, Qatar, which had been a main supporter of Syria, on Monday withdrew its embassy from Syria's capital, Damascus.
Yemen. On Monday, at least 2 Yemeni protesters were killed and at least 7 wounded in 2 separate clashes in Sana'a between citizens for and against President Ali Abdullah Saleh.
As we mourn the precious lives lost and the distress of the injured and many others, we pray for the strife in all countries to subside, with citizens everywhere deciding to live in shared safety, dignity, and peace.